in 1995, I'd never thought that in 10 years I'd be walking around with an iPod with about, I think, 3,500 to 4,000 songs on my iPod, which I listen to religiously on a daily basis. So I had no idea that that was coming up the pike. I knew that music would be disseminated in a different way, and the digital movement was starting then, but I just hadn't envisioned specifically an iPod. So it is hard to say, but with the real increase in technology to consumers through personal computers, through things like iPods, through cell phones, I have no doubt that a large part of regulation of the property rights, of copyrights, are going to be through digital rights management systems. I don't think that they're going to replace copyright law. I also don't think that the public is going to stand for an abrogation of previous, basically, of previous practices. I mean, before it's been all right if you buy a record, and it used to be vinyl, and I used to buy a lot of vinyl, if I couldn't listen to vinyl in my car, it doesn't fit in the cassette player, so you tape it. Perfectly legal for personal use, at least after cases like Sony Betamax. And just in general, you're not buying another copy. You've already purchased a copy. You just want to be able to listen to it in a different situation. I think as long as those types of principles are upheld by the music industry, as long as they don't tie people's hands by, number one, selling downloads of music that expire, I don't think that the public is going to like that very much. And if they allow people to move it around, to move a song or an album they buy digitally online, between their computer, between their car, between their home stereo, I think it'll be fine. And I think the record industry is going to find that it's going to need to conform to those old practices. I do feel that there's going to be limitations, which are primarily going to be because of, the threat of digital piracy. And there may be situations in the future where, when they sell music, that it's only can be played on players which are registered to the person who purchased the music. That may be entirely possible. What's interesting is copyright law has come over to, I'll preface it by talking a little bit about copyright law. Copyright law has come under a lot of scrutiny by people who are both educated on copyright law and laypersons. Mainly, one main reason is because Napster definitely brought it to the fore. And what people who own the property right, which is a copyright, what copyright serves to do is gives people a way to redress any issues they might have if somebody's infringing or illegally using their copyright. And people generally do that through the legal system or the threat of using the legal system, which can be expensive, time-consuming, laborious. It can also be very effective. Many people think that the courts are a good way to resolve issues such as copyright infringement issues and to protect a person's inherent property right in something that they own or companies. Some people think that the law isn't the only answer, that it is ultimately going to be the end-all be-all with regard to determining what is a copyright and what people's legal rights are, but that there are other ways to enforce those rights in a more business sense. And when I say digital rights management, I mean that for companies being able to enforce or protect their copyright through uses of technology, whether it be coding, encryption, making it very difficult for their copyrights to be misappropriated and used illegally by third parties, whether it's a peer-to-peer file service, whether it's somebody. New York City's a fine example. I've always been shocked to be walking down the street in broad daylight and see people with hundreds and hundreds of DVDs or CDs, which are bootleg CDs, for sale on the street, blatantly for sale on the street. I mean, that is as wrong as any type of digital piracy goes. Digital rights management can also prevent, to a certain degree, in the future, perhaps the bootlegging of CDs and DVDs by encryption. There are other ways of doing it. I mean, it may be that if you copy CDs in the future, because CDs will be around for a while, that when you copy it, the copy you make is going to have sounds in it. It's going to have loud, abrupt sounds in it. It may expire, things of that nature. So when I say digital rights management, I'm referring to ways that property right owners, copyright owners, can use technology to prevent others from illegally appropriating their copyrights.